We all know Pokemon. It's the biggest franchise on the planet. Games, TV shows, trading cards, it's everywhere. The very face of monster collecting. I grew up and loved the franchise. I'm talking red version, gold version, the English dubbed anime. Those were the days. But decades later, the recent games have been losing their magic on me. Sword and Shield were alright, but felt like a missed opportunity for a mainline console entry. Scarlet and Violet had absolutely egregious performance issues that in my book were unacceptable. And most of all, the same familiar formula has been wearing thin as someone who's been playing since the very beginning. I've since written off the monster collecting genre as I didn't think it was the type of game for me, aside from Pokemon. But lo and behold, I see this new Digimon story game, Time Stranger, doing absolute numbers on Steam. So I checked the game out. I liked Digimon 2 as a kid, so why not? A dozen or so hours in, it has really grown on me. This is a real, solid JRPG monster taming title that alongside other genre successes like Palworld, might be enough competition to get the Pokemon company sweating. Alright, definitely not, but hey, one can dream. Nevertheless, let's talk about what Digimon Story Time Stranger gets right and my thoughts so far. Let's first touch on the story. Now, normally story isn't a big motivator for players of this genre, but the story in Time Stranger has been better than I expected. You play as an agent for the organization called Adamus, who is investigating Digimon-related phenomena. Crazy events go from one to another, and you soon end up with the end of the world, time traveling, and a handful of mysteries to resolve right from the early hours of the game. It ain't Shakespeare, but the mysteries are set up well enough to egg you to keep playing. It is much more front and center than the stories of the Pokemon games, and I'm still having fun with it even though it does have its cheesy moments. The heart of Time Stranger though is the monster taming, and this is where the Digimon system feels refreshing. There's a surprisingly wide variety of Digimon to choose from, with vast ranges of stats, from typing to special moves to personalities, which all affect the Digimon's effectiveness in combat. Obtaining them is done through the convert system, which basically allows you to summon them after you fight enemy versions in the wild enough times to fill their conversion gauge to 100%. It's fundamentally simple, but the numerous simple systems stacked on top of each other lend to some deep complexity. You convert new Digimon, feed unneeded ones to level up your main monsters, customize their movesets, and fulfill stat requirements to digivolve to certain next level Digimon. The range of customizability feels just right. Easy enough at the beginning to become familiar with your taming options, but it grows ever more deep the further into the game. I particularly like the Digivolve system. Kind of similar to Persona, every Digimon has multiple evolution options to choose from should you meet the stat requirements. It allows for more strategic flexibility by giving you more evolution choices and encourages experimentation. I found myself really paying attention to my evolution options in creating a well-balanced team, because your composition really does matter from battle to battle. Speaking of combat, it also feels partly inspired by Persona, and it's great. More importantly, it gets quite challenging at times. One of my biggest letdown of the recent Pokemon games is how easy they've become. Sure, I'm older and smarter than when I played the earlier generations as a kid, but I'm sure the older versions put up more of a challenge than the newer games. Digimon Time Stranger strikes an interesting balance of smooth sailing normal fights to challenging set-piece battles. Like, some of these bosses get quite tough, even on the default difficulty. Unique mechanics, different phases, so far they've been the highlight of the gameplay for me. The battle system itself also has this balance between being strategic but quick enough not to drag. Turn order is visible on the side so you can plan ahead, exploit enemy weaknesses, or use buffs and debuffs to control the fight. It's surprisingly snappy. Animations are fast, menus are clean, and there's even an auto battle mode if you want to grind for experience or resources without micromanaging every turn. It's the kind of quality of life improvement that streamlines the experience and lets you skip over fodder fights. That said, depending on who you ask, the streamlined loop might be a double-edged sword. Some players will see the focus on convenience as modern and respectful of their time. Others might find it a bit too automated, like the game plays itself a little too often. Personally, I think it strikes a good middle ground, but your mileage will vary. What surprised me the most though was how much Digimon typing mattered to your strategy. Digimon can be virus, data, vaccine, or free typing, and there's a rock, paper, scissors damage multiplier system between the main three. Using the right type Digimon against enemies can allow for double or triple damage, while also mitigating enemy attacks as well. It's quite polarizing. Using the right types can make some fights super easy, while not having good typing could turn some fights into a nightmare. I really like how it pushes you to come up with balanced comps and raise a variety of different Digimon for the different fights, but at times it felt a touch too punishing. I like to use the Digimon I know from the shows growing up, but using only 3 vaccine Digimon will only get you stuck against the more difficult fights. But on a whole, it's been a fun and challenging battle system with considerable depth should you go looking for it. I was just a little disappointed though at some of the production values, namely voice acting. Quality-wise, the Japanese voices are fine, but there are quite a few spots where you expect voice lines only to be met with text only. The Digimon themselves too are largely quiet, but then they'd shout out an attack name here and there, which feels spotty and awkward. The main characters too sometimes have voice lines during their conversations and sometimes do not, to the extent where it becomes quite noticeable. There are just too many times where it feels like voice acting should be there, but it just isn't. Not a deal breaker in my books, but I felt it was worth pointing out. Graphically too, this isn't going to blow your mind, but visually it's serviceable. The Digimon designs look great. There are some pretty colorful environments in the digital world. The technicalities are definitely covered by some superior art direction, and on the whole, it probably won't wow you, but it works. Pacing wise, the game starts off quick with an attention-grabbing intro section followed by some drawn-out exposition. It then dives into the main gameplay loop of going through dungeons and advancing the story. It's weird because the pacing feels a bit up and down at times, but it still manages to keep me invested to keep playing. Sometimes dungeons or story segments have felt a tad too long, but the game does a good job at introducing new elements, whether it be story beats, mechanics, or Digimon to fight and convert to keep your interest engaged. Overall though, Time Stranger has been a solid JRPG and monster taming game that I think deserves the attention it's getting. So far, my thoughts are that it doesn't have top tier polish, but makes up more than enough with a great selection of Digimon and meaty RPG systems. It's got a story with mysteries that keep me playing, and I'm excited to see what surprises and twists the game will continue to throw at me. But yeah, so far a solid game. Have you been playing Time Stranger? And if so, have you been having a good time? Whether you love it, hate it, or lie somewhere in between, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Hey, thanks for watching until the end. If you enjoy this kind of gaming commentary, consider liking and subscribing to help support the channel. See you in the next one.